Hello everyone, welcome back to On the Fly. Today we're going to be recapping the semi-final matchups of the Women's Olympic Hockey event. So jumping right on into it with the games from today, we started off with a 10-3 victory for Team Canada over Team Switzerland. And this game was really sort of a domination fest from the Canadians, especially in the first few periods. And then once they started to get their lead, they began to sort of do their puck passing, trying to keep the score reasonable and not show up their opponents. And really, this was once again a game where Canada is the better team. They always are going to be the better team, except when they play the Americans, and that's when games get interesting. And that's sort of what it's been for years and years and years. Is that it's Canada, U.S. in the final, and then you sort of have the three-team mix of Finland. You always have the Swiss, the Russians, and then Sweden used to be. Now they're a little bit. They've been a little bit weakened. But now it's really all about who is going to come down in the gold, and it's always going to be either Canada or the U.S. to win the gold, and then in the bronze, as I mentioned, it will be between Russia, Switzerland, and Finland. So taking a look at sort of the games, once again, we're going to take like game 2 of the day because the first game really wasn't anything interesting, just really a blowout from Canada, nothing really that new. And once they started getting going, it was just a tumbleweed. Kept scoring and scoring and scoring until basically they decided no more. Keep it simple, keep it civilized, and that's sort of what Canada does, right? They don't necessarily blow teams out 30-0 because they definitely could, but they also want to keep it respectful, especially in the tournament where really they are going to be the best team and there's no real competition except once until they get to the gold medal game. And then the second game of the day was a little bit better of a game between the U.S. and the Finns. So U.S. did win 4-1 over Team Finland, and with obviously the Finns being a team that is basically the third. I think most people can agree that when you take a look at the standings, 1-2 always belongs to the U.S. and Canada. And then once you get to that third spot, it tends to be the Finns who are ranked in sort of the third, and then you have Switzerland 4 or 5 between Russia. But really, when you take a look at Team Finland, they kept in it. They kept in it through the first 2 periods, and then of course started to let up a little bit due to the conditioning of the U.S. team, and simply the U.S. just being a better team overall. It was sort of the end factor in this game. Obviously, more skill means more goals, and that's sort of what it came down to. So when you look at the game as a whole, USA and Finland very evenly matched for the first 2, and then the U.S. sort of just pulled away at the end. And it was a close game, but at the same time, you could tell who the better team was and who was going to come out with it eventually. The ice started to get one-sided, and then finally the U.S. found a way through, and that was sort of the end result, was 4-1. Although it was 4-0, Finland did score a late goal with the goalie pulled, but at the end of the day, too little, too late for the Finns, and the USA will move on to the gold medal game to play the Canadians. Finland will move on to the bronze medal game against the Swiss. And this is going to be a game, once again, for the ages, obviously U.S.-Canada rivalry. And you got Finland and the Swiss, who are a growing rivalry, especially in the women's game. And it is going to be very exciting to see how these two teams fare. Dealing with the bronze medal game going to come up at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time in the morning on February 16th. Both games will be on February 16th between Finland and Switzerland. And this game, once again, is going to be a very evenly matched game. I think if I had to put my bets on it, it will be Team Finland pulling away with it. But once again, the Swiss are not the team to be counted out. They did win their respective game against each other, but in the long run, I do believe that Finland will prove victorious and take the bronze medal over a team like Switzerland. And then coming down to the final game of the Olympic event will be between Canada and the USA. And this is once again another repeated cycle. Every year we start to see the same teams, and that's sort of where this controversy is coming up. If you've seen articles from the Toronto Star and all these other networks about whether women's hockey should be in the Olympics, absolutely it should be, but I do believe there should be some sort of reform for the Olympics, especially because it always has been and always will be a 2-team event. Just the way the money gets poured into these programs in Canada and in the U.S. and North American hockey doesn't really compare to the teams in Europe. And you sort of see that every year with the automatic sort of victory for either Canada or the U.S. But that's a little bit off topic. So let's take a look at this game, what to look for. So I think one of the main storylines coming back in will be Melody Daou returning. She did return for a little bit in the Switzerland game, but of course her minutes were limited after the injury, so they're keeping her definitely on tabs. And of course, the loss of Brianna Decker from the USA is going to be another one. They are going to be able to come back. They are going to have to heavily rely upon players like Kendall Coyne-Schofield and Hillary Knight for sure, as those are some of their veteran leaders on the team. Losing Decker is going to be a big loss for the Americans, and I will be very curious to see if that's what the end result is losing one of their best players. But it is going to be a very evenly matched game. Of course, Canada did take the first game 4-2 against the two teams, but at the end of the day, Canada, in my opinion, is the favorite, and that's not even a little bit biased. I think Canada does have the better team this year, and especially players like Sarah Fillier, first-time Olympian, but making her name present on the world stage. I think it's going to be very curious to see what happens in that game. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. If you'd like to drop a like, if you really liked it, consider subscribing. Tell all your friends, leave a comment down below your thoughts on the gold and bronze medal games of the Olympic women's event. Until next time, see ya.